What is that? It's a Ouija board. Duh. Are we supposed to, like, play it? Obviously. We should ask if there's any spirits that want to talk to us. Wait, why is the planchette moving? Stop moving the planchette. I'm not moving the planchette. I'm honestly not. Some demonic force is moving it. I think we're haunted. Debbie is like, right. I get knocked down, but I get up again. There are a few things in my life that I will never ever do, and messing around with the Ouija board is one of them. The Ouija board isn't real. Ghosts and spirits aren't real. There's actually a scientific term as to why people think the board is moving. Okay, and that still does not change my opinion on the fact that I'm never ever messing around with it. We're going to be talking about this movie. We thank these people. We also thank the cast and everyone else who was involved in the making of this movie. This movie will always have a very special place in my heart because it was one of the first horror movies that I ever watched in like my entire life. The first horror movie I ever watched was The House at the End of the Street. The point I'm making is that this movie is nostalgic to me. With all that being said, I'll shush, the movie's starting. The movie begins with two girls playing the Ouija board. This is the evidence right here, and don't look at the date. It's actually the 10th of October, or potentially the 9th. I don't know, just ignore that. So this is Debbie, and then that's Elaine. Debbie wants to play, she knows all the rules. Lane is a little on edge. Lane is a little bit like, I don't know if we should be doing something like this. When I was like 12, I was obsessed with the Ouija board. I researched that. I literally went onto the back alley of the internet and was researching Ouija boards and looking up all this weird stuff about it. So I used to know like all the obscure rules that any regular smegular person wouldn't know. I did not just say regular smegular. I cannot believe I just said that. I just want to point that out because I have not researched the Ouija board in years and they're about to play it right now. So if they do something wrong or they mess up one of the rules, I can't tell you about it because I honestly can't remember anymore. I remember two things. The first one is very obvious. Everyone knows this. It's you always need to say goodbye once you finish playing the game. The second thing is that you can't burn the board. You can't get rid of the board by just burying it. You literally just can't get rid of the board. The only way you can get rid of the board is by cutting it into, I believe it is 7 pieces and putting holy water on it and then like burying all the pieces randomly. I feel like that's the... Wait, and the reason why you can't burn the board is because it like releases the spirit into the air, I think. I don't know. This could all be wrong. I got all this information off these sketchy looking websites. So if it's wrong, blame the sketchy websites, not me. Back to Debbie and Lane. Debbie, she's really keen. She's a little blonde one. She's like, yes, we're going to play the Ouija board. And Lane is all like, I don't think we should do this. So the two girls, they spin the planchette around 2 times on the board because there's 2 players. And they have this little saying thing like, oh, as friends, we like gather around, whatever. And basically like, is anyone here? Is anyone here? That sounds like me. Every single day, sometimes I'm just like in the middle of the day. Is anyone here? Come fight me. Don't fight me. Don't fight me. After they ask if anyone is there, the planchette moves to yes, signifying that yes, someone is there that wants to talk to them. Now, Lane is not having it. She's like, Debbie, stop moving the planchette. And Debbie's like, shh. She picks up the planchette and she like holds it up to her eyes and is like, you know, you can see like ghosts, whatever, through this because it's the eye to the other side. Side note, you guys know Coraline, right? Well, in Coraline, there is something very similar to this. So that thing there, it's like, oh yeah, if you look at that, you can see the idea that kind of looks like a planchette. See, that kind of looks a little bit like a planchette. So Lane is picking up the planchette and she's looking through the little gap in the middle. And Debbie is like, if something's here, make yourself know, which I don't think you're supposed to say that. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to say, make a noise or show yourself. I'm pretty sure you're not supposed to say that. From my research that I made as a 12-year-old. So like I said, if I say anything wrong, blame 12-year-old me, not me. So as Elaine is looking through this little thing, she sees this dark presence looming behind Debbie. But not to fear, it's just a little sister. It is not an evil presence. Well, stop, that's so mean. I'm only kidding, okay? The point I'm making is that sometimes, I mean, depending on who you are, some people's siblings can be like evil presences, you know? So the evil presence, I mean, little sister, her name is Sarah. So Debbie is like, relax, it's just a game, whatever. And then there's like a massive time jump and now she's no longer a little kid. Also, side note, I can never watch DVDs ever again. There's a little DVD player down there, and the DVD player, it had this cord that you could just stick in, you know, like just a cord, a power, you know. Well, some Wi-Fi guy put it in that grey box, and you can't open that grey box. That box is unloaded, so he just randomly shoved the cord, and now the cord, the DVD cord is like through the wall. This is Debbie much older. Debbie is just like sitting in front of the fire, staring at the Ouija board, and she slowly drags the planchette to goodbye and is like, goodbye. And in the background, there's like some evil enchantress music that I would say is the way to describe that kind of music. Also, I'm pretty sure it's another one of those rules. It's like, never play the Ouija board by yourself because it's like dangerous or whatever. But I can kind of see why you'd want to play the Ouija board by yourself, because when you bet by yourself, you can make sure that no one else is moving the planchette around. Oh my god. And remember when I said never burn the board? She just flings the board into the fire. You're not supposed to do that. Debbie is like, right. What was that demonic laughter? For whatever reason, Debbie is in tears as she tosses this board into the fire. Which, like, you don't burn the board. You're not supposed to do that. Then Debbie's on the phone with Lane. Remember Lane, she was the girl at the start. And we find out that Debbie has had a very tough week. Then Lane is like, you're going to make us late for the game. I honestly thought it would be a football game because it's an American movie, but no, it's a basketball game. Debbie tells Lane on the phone that she does not want to go to the basketball game. And Lane is like, well, I'm not going to go until I talk to you. So they're standing outside Debbie's front house and they're talking. And long story short, Debbie is not going to the game. Debbie is going to stay at home all by herself, which we know is the start of everything wrong in horror movies, because in horror movies, there's safety in numbers. She's eating her leftovers in peace when all of a sudden, the door behind her starts opening. Ooh, very, very scary. Debbie goes and investigates and breathes a huge sigh of relief, because the only reason why the door was opening, the only reason, was because the outside door was open, letting in all the windy air, causing the draft. I'm ignoring whatever that loud crash was. It's actually very windy outside today. Debbie then goes to lock the door, which, why was the door unlocked in the first place? Why in tarnation is my new favorite word. Why in tarnation was the door not locked in the first place? Then her stove lights up because somebody turned it on. Who turned it on? And what does she do? She turns off the lights. If there was weird stuff happening in my house, at night, the first thing I'd be doing is turning all the lights, not turning them off. Except I do know some people who are all like, no, it's my house. I know it better than anyone. If someone comes in, I'm turning off all the lights so then I know exactly where I am, and they don't know because they're in a brand new surroundings, and that's not me. She's literally just wandering around in the dark, fearlessly, might I add. She goes back into her room, and what does she see? The board that she tossed into the fire, it is on her bed, and the planchette is on the floor. So that's the board there, that's her. She's got a nice little setup back here, might I just say. She then stomps on the planchette that is on the ground, like a stampede of wild animals stomp on humans when they race through. She picks up the planchette, and then she peers out of it and looks near the Ouija board. Now, we don't know what actually happens, but we see in the reflection of the little glass thing, we see her eye turn white, like full white. See that white thing there? The entire eye is just white. And then she starts taking down her fairy lights. Next thing we know, Debbie has now hung herself. That is the end of the opening scene. I'm not gonna lie, it just sounded like someone was walking around upstairs. Yeah, if I die, well, if someone is there, because I just saw the little motion sensor thing, because there's motion sensors all over my house, so if someone walks, there's a blue light, whatever. If someone is there, make yourself known. All right, we can be friends, you can come watch the movie with me. It's now next morning. Lane is with Mr. Trevor. That's her boyfriend, and he's got a map, and he's like, you know what? I was gonna go on just this boys trip, but I just realized I was gonna miss you so much, so you're gonna come on the boys trip. And they're gonna go camping and surfing and whatever, but like, wouldn't that be scary being the only girl? I recently had to do this thing, and there were like 7 other people in the room with me, and they were all males. And then another guy came. So then there was like 8 males, and I was the only girl that was there. I mean, that wasn't scary, but I mean, I wasn't sleeping over there. I just can't imagine. I mean, I guess it's fine. Like, I wonder what the dude's friends are gonna think, because I'm just imagining. I went on a girls' trip last year. Loved it. If someone had brought their pesky little boyfriend, that just would have been annoying. I mean, they don't really have to do much planning considering this is a horror movie, so the likelihood of them actually going to be able to go on this trip is very, very slim. Lainey is like, oh, well, good luck getting past my dad with that. And then Trevor is like, yeah, well, I've got a plan. We're going to tell him that this is a senior trip and it's going to be fully Trevor. And also, side note, I hate those dads that are like too overprotective of their children, but particularly their daughters. It's like, ew, get away. Then Isabel shows up. See the black-haired girl there? She's Isabel. That's my real name. Well, that's just what I'm telling you is my real name. Really, my real name could be something like Stacy. And you know what? You'd never know. because it's the internet. So I could be like, oh yeah, my real name is Stacey Parker, and like you wouldn't even know. Like you would genuinely have no idea. Isn't it weird how people can just like lie on the internet and like no one knows? If you're a liar, give me some tips, please, because I can't lie for the life of me, but I just feel like it's a skill to have, and I feel so guilty. And it's very obvious when I'm lying and I need to make that not happen anymore. Like the other day I did something slightly unethical and my mum was like, did you do that? And I was just like, and I tried really hard to say no. And then I just confessed and I was like, yes, I did. I don't think I could possibly actually commit a crime because I feel like I just hand myself in. Also, does anyone else do this? I wear very little clothing. Like I wear little tops and little pants or little skirts, mainly because if I go into a store and I'm trying things on, I don't want them thinking that I'm wearing something underneath, or like I'm stealing clothes and then ripping off the tags in the change room and then putting it underneath my clothes and then sneaking out. So by wearing like really little clothes, it's very, very obvious that I have not stolen anything because you wouldn't be able to hide anything underneath it. She's then like, where's Debbie? What time are we going to the party? And Trevor and Lane are like, oh yeah, we're gonna skip out on the party. We're not gonna go partying. We then find out that, you know, Isabel is not in a relationship. Which, like, just call me out. Just call me out. No, it's the reason for her is because she's very picky. I'm also very picky. At this point, I have been alone for so long. And, like, this year has literally been the loneliest year of my, like, entire life. It's very strange, but also I'm at a point, like, where I'm kind of used to it. So, for me to bring anyone new into my life, they're gonna have to be, like, a good person. Because I'm used to my loneliness. And I'm used to my alone time. So, you know, I'm not just going to bring someone in just for the sake of bringing someone in. Then Lane is like bombarded. Okay, she's not. But her dad texts her and is like, get her immediately. And Trevor's all like, it's here she finds out that Debbie has sadly passed away. It then cuts to the melancholy after funeral scene where everyone is gathering at the deceased person's house and is just trying to work through what they went through. The death has been ruled a suicide, but Lane just doesn't want to, she's like, I can't. While everyone is congregated around, Lane then goes into Debbie's room. Then Debbie's mom comes in and it's quite this sad little moment. Debbie's mom gives Lane a box of Debbie's things and he's like, Debbie, we want you to have them. Don't forget about her. We also find out that Lane is house sitting for Debbie's house. Well, not really Debbie's house anymore, but Debbie's family's house because they're going to just take a little break. That night, Lane busies herself with watching videos of her and Debbie. Remember at the start when we first saw that dark presence, but it was actually a little sister named Sarah? Well, as Lainey is looking through the videos of her and Debbie, she notices a car pull up at the front of the house. Sarah, little sister, is sneaking out. And we find out that she's a little bit of a wild child. And she's like, Mum hasn't been around, so the mum's not around. And so this is why she's like lashing out at the world. But yeah. We then find out that her dad, Rufus, is going on a business trip. His name is not actually Rufus, but the guy plays Rufus in Gossip Girl. Also, I never just realized how closely similar him and Ezra from Pretty Little Liars, how similar they look. So it's like before school and Lane and her boyfriend are snooping around Debbie's house. They're not snooping. They're going to check on a few things. The guy goes out the back to check the pool cover. And she goes inside the house. The pool cover is messed up, so Trevor has to dangle over the edge of the water to be able to pull the pool cover back. Meanwhile, Lane is inside the house when she hears a thump upstairs. In Debbie's room, there is a lamp, and the lamp keeps on flashing. And when Lane goes to turn it off, the lamp does it for her. She finds the board again, and Trevor comes in, and he's like, oh, please don't tell me you actually believed in that stuff. And she's like, no, it's just a game. One of my favorite things to happen in movies, particularly scary movies, is when there's like one character that's like, ghosts aren't real, or spirits aren't real, or demons aren't real, or you're just making things up, like you're just hallucinating, whatever. And then they experience what the people they think are crazy are experiencing. I feel really bad for Lane. She is just blaming herself so much for Debbie's death. She's like, if I had just waited, if I had just, instead of going to the basketball game, just waited for her, none of this would have happened. Then she really cryptically is like, you never know when the last time it's going to be you talk to someone, or the last time I say goodbye. I mean, I literally treat every single interaction I have with every single person like they're going to die that same exact day. At school, Lane is then talking to Debbie's boyfriend, and she's like, did you notice anything different about Debbie before she died? And he's like, yeah, she was acting so weird. Like, she didn't want me going inside of her house. And Lane is like, yeah, she didn't want me going inside her house either. Then Lane is like, I'm not ready to let her go. Lane is then the next day talking to Trevor and Isabel at the diner. And she's all like, you know when someone dies, but like they're not really dead, you can still feel their presence. And like you can still contact them. And she brings up the Ouija board. And her boyfriend is like, didn't you like just say it was a game? Regardless, they decide that they're going to play it with her. It becomes later that night. And as Lane is about to leave, she sees this grown man waiting outside the house. He's waiting for Sarah, the little sister. And so basically, Lane is like, Sarah, I can't trust you. That man is too old for you. As soon as I leave, you're going to go with him. So you're coming with me. So then they all then go to Debbie's house. At Debbie's house, then Debbie's boyfriend appears because he has a key to the back door. Never give anybody a key to your house unless they're actually living inside your house. Never, ever give the keys to someone. They camp out in a living room. So we have Lane, Lane's sister Sarah, Lane's boyfriend Trevor, Lane's friend Isabel, and then we have Debbie's boyfriend. Even though they just like don't think it's real, they still don't want to do it. Eventually, they play. They move the planchette around the board enough times, and Lane then says the little ritual thing that Debbie said to her when they were kids. Then, as they ask a question, it's like, is anyone there? The planchette moves. Now, obviously, everyone's like freaked out. They're like, who's moving it around? It causes quite the stir amongst the group. The planchette then moves to HIFRIENDS, which stands for Hi Friends. Then they ask, who's there? And the planchette moves to D, D standing for Debbie. They ask a few more questions. There is no response. And then there is like a weird creaking sound coming from upstairs. And then one of the boys is like, I don't know which one they are. They both look the exact same. He is then like, it's just an old house. They tell Debbie goodbye as they move the planchette to goodbye. The lights in the house turn off. And Isabel is very freaked. She's like, guys. But Sarah is all like, it's just a game. It's not real. The lights now won't turn back on again. Trevor and Lane go off to investigate. The other three are theorizing about, you know, why the planchette was moving. Debbie's boyfriend is like, it was probably Lane, and she probably wasn't even conscious that she was moving it, because there is a phenomenon where you want the planchette to move, so then you're not aware of it, but your muscles are actually moving it, even though you're not aware of it happening. There is a phenomenon like that. So that's what he thinks. And then the stove turns on. Remember? That's what happened with Debbie. The stove turned on. Lane in the kitchen is like, Debbie, is that you? Debbie, do you want to tell me something? And then Trevor just turns off the stove and is like, stop. Meanwhile, Debbie's boyfriend then goes and explores himself because he can hear this weird creaking sound. And as he is looking in the mirror, what does he notice in the mirror? He notices there's a reflection, and then something pushes him and slams him into the mirror, and the mirror shatters. They're like, we need to get out of here. They leave, and Lane takes the Ouija board because it was Debbie's and she wants it. I mean, there are so many other things that she could have taken in memory of her friend rather than a Ouija board. But like, okay, I mean, I guess there is history. They used to play together, but still, surely there's got to be something else that they used to do together. Honestly, I can't even be mad at her because she thinks that she's talking to Debbie. Debbie, the girl that she loves, her best friend. And if your best friend died too, and you had the Ouija board and it was showing signs that you were talking to her, I mean, yeah, okay, you might. Well, some people would. I wouldn't, because, like, I know that's not Debbie, but, like, still, like, I see where she's coming from. That's the point that I'm trying to make. Trevor agrees that the entire situation was weird, but he just doesn't think that it's real, and he tells Lane that sometime she needs to move on. Lane lights a candle and gently starts moving the planchette around. She doesn't play the board, but she just, like, is just touching the planchette. The next day, Isabel is then like, I was having these really weird dreams. Honestly, like, is this girl me? Like, we have the same name. Okay, we're both single. And she also was having terrible dreams. Like, is this girl me? Lane is then like, let's just move on and forget about it. Now, back at home, her nonna is in her room and finds the planchette and then finds the Ouija board. And then is like, please don't use this. Do not seek answers from the dead. She's like, you need to get rid of the board. And Lane is like, okay, yeah, I'll get rid of the board. Trevor is bike riding and he gets to this like creepy, I don't even know what this is, but he gets to this creepy area and he's just gonna go through it. He's very on edge. A jogger runs through. There is a trolley filled with cans and it's like clinking around. And then what looks like a tampon, but it's actually a bit of chalk, then rolls on the ground towards him. And then the trolley almost slams into him. And on the wall, what does it say on the wall? Hi, friend. That's what the chalk, that's what they said on the Ouija board as well. So it's like connected. As Isabel is leaving her shift, her manager is like, can you take the garbage out? She's also on edge. The door slams behind her and she jumps and turns around. Which is also what I do. This is literally me. This is me. As she gets to her car, what is on her window? Hi, friend. Do you all see this? And it's coming from inside. So it's like somebody breathed against the glass inside the car and wrote that. All of a sudden, a hand is like... And then she jumps. And as she opens the door, nothing there. There's nothing in there. So she calls Debbie's boyfriend and is like, is that weird? And he's like, no, that's not weird at all because he's looking at his desk. And you know what Debbie's boyfriend has seen? Yeah, hi friend, carved onto his desk. Lane is at home and she's watching a YouTube video about whether or not the Ouija board is real or not. And he's basically telling you about the myth that I was telling you about. Also, remember when phones used to have a home button? She hears a bit of a kerfuffle. She walks down the stairs and her front door is slightly ajar and wind is blowing in leaves. Sarah comes out of her room and Sarah's like, Lane, I thought it was you. And Lane was like, no, I thought that was you. And then she's like, wait, Dad, is that you? All of a sudden the door slams. So they run into Lane's room. They slam Lane's door shut. They're just huffing and puffing against the door when all of a sudden something slams against their door. So then they both book it into Lane's wardrobe. Lane peeks out, looks at her desk, and what is written on her computer? Hi, friend. They all come to the consensus that it's Debbie. Even though hi, friend is such a generic statement and she has not offered anything that only Debbie would know. So they decide the only rational thing is to play the Ouija board once more. They say a little ritual thing. They're like, are you here? After a prolonged silence, the chair across from Lane drags out by itself and the planchette is ripped off of the board so that no one is touching the planchette. Through the board, they find out that Debbie did not kill herself and that somebody did this to her. They ask the question, but it's just crickets. Debbie isn't talking anymore. Then, this is what I like to see. Debbie's boyfriend is now starting to ask very specific questions. He's like, on our first date, we told everyone we went to the fair. But where do we really go? See, this is the thing that we want to hear. Things are very specific and only Debbie would know. Obviously, they're waiting for Debbie to answer, but there's crickets again. And he's like, we went to the lookout. Remember? You remember that? And of course, then the planchette moves to yes. But like, anyone can say yes. We want specifics. Good thing Debbie's boyfriend is 10 steps ahead of everyone because guess what? They never went to the lookout on their first date. They didn't. It was just a lie. And it was a trap and the demon fell for the trap. Haha, demon suck. But Debbie's boyfriend is like, guys, this isn't Debbie. So they ask, I'm like, is this Debbie? And it goes straight to no. So, I mean, at least the demon isn't lying. Anyways, we find out that whoever they're talking to is called DZ. Kind of like Jay-Z, you know. I wonder if DZ's a rapper. Essentially, they find out that they were never ever talking to Debbie and they were talking to DZ the entire time. The other night, it was DZ. It just was never Debbie. And I mean, what are the chances that Debbie and DZ... Like, so basically, when they asked if they were talking to Debbie, DZ didn't lie. Because DZ just said they were talking to D. They didn't even lie. Yeah. But like, what are the chances they both have names that start with the same letter? They're like, DZ, where are you? And then Sarah's like, at the chair. So then Lane picks up the planchette and she's going to look through the little glass thing. And we're going to watch it together. Okay, we're going to watch this scene together. So as you can see right now, they're also... Now she lifts up the planchette. Now she looks through. And what does she see?
I think we should get out of here.
Debbie with her mouth sewn. And then the Ouija board, it then moves to run really quickly. And there's like really intense music. Then it's like, she's coming. Mother is coming. Have you guys seen that movie? Mother? That was a disturbing movie. Lane looks around, a skinny looking woman appears, and then the entire board is wrenched upwards. So they leave, they get out of the house, but are we forgetting what they didn't do? They did not say goodbye. You're not supposed to do that. All of them are very solemn. They don't really know what to make of the situation. Now, it is after school and Lane is sitting at her desk and she's fiddling with this little penguin charm that was in Debbie's collection of things when she notices that it's actually USB. So she plugs the USB into her computer. Debbie made a little vlog on this USB and it was Operation Cleaning the Attic. Side note, when I was younger, my job, I literally wanted to be an attic cleaner. Why did I want to be an attic cleaner? Like, genuinely, when I was a kid, my dream job was going to be to clean out people's attics. Anyway, you know what she found in the attic? She found the board. And immediately, Lane's face just drops. Sarah comes into the room and both she and Lane then watch this little vlog of Debbie playing the Ouija board by herself. It's like super glitchy. There's like a whole bunch of like glitches in the screen and everything. And as Debbie is talking to the board, you know what she says? Hi, friend. Because the board spelled out, hi, friend. Everything then flashes to Isabel driving home, Isabel getting out of her car, Isabel turning on the tap to very hot in the bath. She's flossing her teeth in the mirror when all of a sudden her mouth is then also sewn shut, like what Debbie's mouth looked like. All the water is then overflowing in the bathtub. All of a sudden, Isabel's eyes turn white, like what happened with Debbie's eyes at the start of the movie. She is levitated off of the ground and her head slams against the basin or the sink, the porcelain sink. She falls on the ground and her eyes go back to normal. Then it's the next day at school and she's talking to the guidance counselor. Trevor is very mad at Lane. He's like, you made us play, now Isabel is dead. Honestly, who would you be mad at in this situation? Actually, how would you even respond to this situation? He's then like, it's coming for all of us. Who's next? Final Destination type beat. She's then like, to Debbie's boyfriend, when Debbie plays something was broken in her house, like, we need to do something. Help me. They go back into Debbie's room. Also, look at that creepy mask. Like, there's no need to have that in your room. Lane then goes up into the attic while Debbie's boyfriend just stays in Debbie's room until he decides to venture out of it. Lainey is raking through the old stuff. There's a lot of dust when she finds a box full of files. She finds this picture. Does someone want to take creepy pictures with me and then we sneak in into an abandoned place and put the pictures in there and like make up files and stuff to like try to trick people into thinking something's going on? Does someone want to do that with me? Debbie's boyfriend is now out on the landing and he starts hearing rustling coming from downstairs. In the attic, Lane finds this creepy little doll. There's a mild jump scare and Lane hands down the box of files to Debbie's boyfriend, and then all of a sudden the torch that she was holding then rolls across the attic floor. See, yeah, I'm just getting out of there. Lane goes over to where the torch is and the torch is shining on that little doll, the creepy doll. The creepy doll is now sitting up. Lane didn't do that. Lane didn't put the doll in a creepy seated position. It then looks like a little person, then ducks out behind something. I don't know, it's a little bit creepy, to be honest. What's in this box? A lot of pictures. There's a lot of pictures here. He then looks at some old archives and they find this article. The police continue search for the missing girl. And in the picture before, this was the little girl. And what's her name? Doris Sander. DZ. They suspected that the mother had something to do with it, but they never figured out what happened. Then Debbie's boyfriend is like, wait, if it was the mother and DZ, then who was that other girl with them? It was just her sister. I know. I was playing it up to be all like, she was actually a ghost. But no, it was just her sister. She's in this psychiatric hospital. This is the sister. This lady is always in creepy movies. The other movie she's in is the Grudge remake. And she is like the lady in the house with like the rotting husband. Lane is just curious. Lane is like, I need to know about your sister, my best friend, Debbie. She lived in the house where you lived. Lane is like, I think there's an evil presence in that house. And Doris' sister is like, I wouldn't be surprised if there was more than one. And she gets very excited when Lane tells her that she found pictures. Doris' sister is called Paulina, and Paulina is so excited. She's like, I haven't seen my sister's face in so long. Well, her real face. And we find out that her mom stitched the mouth shut. That's just inhumane. Doris and Paulina's mother was obsessed with all like that kind of spiritual stuff. She loved throwing seances. A seance is basically where people just sit around and try to contact spirits. Apparently Doris really wanted to help. So then mother used Doris's body as a vessel for her to be able to communicate with spirits. And then after that, mother was never the same. She was just obsessed with talking to the dead and talking to the spirits. And then she went crazy, and then she literally just stitched the mouse up because she just couldn't deal with it anymore. Doris also didn't go missing. She literally just never left the house. Mother killed Doris, and then Paulina killed Mother, which is why she's now in the psychiatric hospital. Then Paulina is like, wait, how did you see her? And she like gets closer to Lane. Now Paulina's panicked because she's like, wait, you played in a graveyard, because remember, people died in there, and graveyards are just where people are dead. So Paulina's very scared. She's like, you contacted something, you woke them up, Mother and Doris, they're now alive. Good thing they can fix it. There is a link between the board and the body. The body of who? The body of Doris. After Mother killed Doris, she had this secret room down in the basement. And what they need to do now, they need to cut the stitches of Doris's mouth so then Doris can take down Mother. By the way, Debbie's boyfriend is Pete. Yeah, so she and Pete then go down into the basement, as well as Trevor and as well as Sarah. So hopefully all these people can free Doris and take down evil Mother, because the Mother is evil. The Mother is so, so evil, and she needs to be taken down by poor little Doris, doesn't she? Trevor is like, we shouldn't be here. We should be going. And there is just this silhouette behind him, a shadow on the wall. And it's not his shadow. Whose shadow is it? The shadow that literally lunges at him, and he's shoved onto the ground and then dragged across the floor. They then trapped in this little room. Sarah and Lane move some like boxes and crates and stuff, and then finds this metal grate thing. Lane finds the room, the secret little room. It's very creepy in there. She then finds Doris's body. Doris is bundled up and has stones resting on her eyes. Like, she's bundled up with like this cloth thing. There is now nothing more than just a skeleton. And I just have to say, would it stink? Like, dead bodies stink. Like, surely there would have been a smell, like before. Like, maybe not now, because it's been so many years, but definitely before, when the police were doing a little investigation. I mean, no, she was wrapped up. Maybe. I don't know. I just feel like there would have been a smell. Lane's torchlight is flashing erratically. As she's lighting up the candles, it looks like there's more dark presences around her. Things start to get very, very weird and very, very scary very, very quickly. And there's very intense music. So Lane rushes to cut the thread that is around Doris's mouth. As she's almost done, Mother, the very skinny looking woman from before, is like, no! Then there's like a little girl Doris that emerges out of the body of dead Doris. Mother is obliterated into a pile of ash. There's like screaming and roaring. Sarah, Pete, and Trevor are fine. Lane, she's laying on the ground, but she gets up. She's also fine. She then covers Doris's body back over with that sheet thing. And everything is fine. They did it, right? They did it. Everything is fine. Mother's defeated. Doris is free. Everything's fine, isn't it? Lane is watching more videos of her and Debbie, and she looks at her picture and is like, I miss you, Debbie. Pete goes home, and guess who's waiting for him in his room? Debbie. Yes, that's right, Debbie. Debbie who died. Debbie is waiting for him in his room. But then it's not Debbie. Then it's Doris. Little Doris with her mouth sewn, and then she like screeches. Then Pete's mouth is then sewn, and his eyes are all white, and his face is like cracking away. So yeah, I think it's safe to say that whatever happened down in that basement, in that secret little room, whatever happened, everything went horribly, horribly wrong. Trevor then sends Lane a message. Lane then goes back to visit Paulina. Lane is like, what happened? I did everything you said. I cut the stitches. Mother went away. Like, another one of my friends died. Why didn't it work? And then Paulina just smiles. So yeah, it was a trick. Mother only wanted to stop the girls because guess what? Paulina also heard the voices. Paulina also heard things. And she's like to Lane, and they're gonna get you. Paulina is like, I promised I would get Doris out, and now Doris is gonna come for you. But all is not lost. All they have to do now is just sever the connection. Sever the connection on both sides. So how are they gonna do that? Well, we know that the connection comes from the board and the body. All they have to do is just destroy the body and destroy the board. That's it. And then it's fine. The three musketeers, Lane, Trevor, and Sarah all then go back to Debbie's house. Trevor is very freaked out. He's standing at the top of the steps at the top of the pool yard when all of a sudden a dead body, dead little Doris, is behind him and shoves him into the water, and then he gets trapped underneath the pool cover and he can't get back out again. So that is the end for Trevor. But the girls think that he's already inside the house. But when he was outside, Sarah was like to him, "We're out here, Trevor." So that was not Sarah. Someone was pretending to be Sarah. Little Doris was pretending to be Sarah. Trevor is then suddenly in the house. His eyes are white, his mouth is sewn shut, and he's like trying to talk, but his mouth is sewn shut. Then he vanishes in a puff of ash. Sarah is like, "Lane, what do we do?" But all they can do is just get rid of the body and get rid of the board. So in the basement, there's one of those little incinerator or furnace looking things. I don't know, just something that has fire. Sarah is like, "Quick, let's just get this over with." When there is an inhumane screech, and Sarah is dragged into that creepy little room. Doris is dead. Doris, so Doris's little shriveled body, is then holding Sarah's face, and she has like a hook thing, which I think is supposed to, you know, pierce the lip, so then she can thread the thread through. Lane then starts playing the Ouija board and is like, "Doris, I'm playing, you have to play with me." Doris comes barreling out and grabs Lane's arm and is like twisting it as it's resting on the planchette like she wants to snap it. Lane's eyes then go white and her face starts cracking when all of a sudden Debbie, the ghost of Debbie, her best friend, appears and tries to stop Doris. This movie is like plot twist after plot twist. Oh, see, look. While that was all happening, Sarah had time to come to her sister's rescue. So Sarah had the body of Doris and chucked it into the fire. And then there was again an inhumane screech. The board was then put into the fire. Black dust started coming out of Doris's mouth. It was very intense. Okay, it was much more intense than what I just described. But then it's over. It's done. Lane is back in her room and I think she's just trying to cope because all of her friends are dead. And she's like, "I miss them." And she's like, "Sometimes we don't get to say goodbye, but that's okay." I think she's just trying to cope because it's not really okay, but like, what else can you say? Sarah is like, "I keep thinking about that night, that poor little girl." She's talking about Doris, had all those dark spirits in her. Then she's like, "Where do you think they went?" Now, Lane is in the bathroom. That is her. Oh dear, she's flossing her teeth. Nothing happens, but she goes back into her room. And on top of all the pictures she was just looking at is the planchette. She looks through it. There is an inhumane screech, and that is the end. There's this sort of creepy little ending scene. So that is the end of the movie. Is the acting the best in the world? No. But is this nostalgic to me? Yes. It's just a fun, stupid, scary movie. And it's honestly a vibe. Alright, bye Mass Pack. Just as I looked outside, I saw someone dangling in the air. He was just hanging off of a roof, but like, I literally thought that he was possessed. And when I say hanging, I mean like he was fixing something. Do I have a pillow and do I have a blanket? Yes, yes I do. So if I nap in the middle of this, don't mind me, I've not had that much sleep. I feel like it's about to rain because the clouds are the same color as this blanket here. I know I'm not crying, I just yawned. But now it looks like I'm crying. Ew, I just watched that little clip back. I saw that. I know you all saw that bug flying down. Great. Great, now I'm gonna be attacked by a bug.